this thing on? Hey everybody, hope you're staying healthy. Today I have a local musician from Morgantown, West Virginia, Zara. So you've clearly been playing instruments and creating for quite a while. How has your style of creation changed over time?
The earlier songs were all written like around a guitar riff or around a, I would sit down and come up with a neat guitar pattern and generally what would happen when you write from that way is, you'll start hearing melodies as you're playing that, that where you want your lyrics to go, and then you have to figure out what type of mood the song is sending you, and try to make your lyrics match the feel of the music. So that's one method, and like I said, over the years that kind of developed where I actually had more time because I was playing so much. I was probably playing 5 nights a week all year long, and so I didn't really have a lot of time to sit and write. And when I did, a lot of my playing over the years was done on an acoustic. I started off being a lead player, but as I got more into the solo stuff, I was playing more acoustic. And you play 3 or 4 nights in a row on an acoustic guitar, and your fingers are sore. I mean, and even when you're out there playing, you just play through it. You just try, but the last thing I want to do is sit and play when I'm not playing. So it was nice to be able to figure out a way to write without having to play along with it.
Mm-hmm. Got your fingers on ice.
Yeah, I mean, when I first started doing it, like when I first started playing 4 hours a night, my fingers would bleed by the end of the night, and then later on, you could hold your hands up to light and see about a 1/4 inch of callus, just where the light shone through, after a while. But even that, you still hurt here and there. It's a painful instrument to play. It really is.
Metal strings.
Yeah, geez, but as you get older and you have more directions your life goes, you tend to write it in weird times. Like I remember a job that I got one time that was just a lab tech job where this sounds really stupid, but NIOSH over here was doing a study on the effectiveness of back belts, and my wife then worked for NIOSH, and she said, hey, you're not doing anything during the days. You want to make some extra money and come over and help with this study? And I said, what do I have to do? They said, well, they only want data on lifting. So once these people lift this box up onto the table, it is your job to take the box and sit it back down.
Oh yeah. So
that's what I did all day, every day, for like several months. That they kept having these people and they're measuring, and they have all these, like, they're wearing like
harnesses and stuff.
It's like a suit that's got these little white balls that are like Velcroed to it.
Oh, okay.
And the computer tracks the movement of those balls, so it sees if the people's movement actually changes from. But at any rate, I'm totally bored.
Yeah.
And so that lets your subconscious just go, and we'd take a break, and I'd sit down and I'd grab a notebook and I'd start writing,
Yeah.
And I wrote 6 songs in about a 6-month period of just all rock and roll songs, all just totally pedal to metal rock songs, because that's what I was trying to write then, because I'd gotten in this thing of writing country music, and I like to write it, but I don't particularly like country music, and I think it's because from osmosis. I think I was brainwashed as a child. My mom and dad were listening to Merle Haggard and Johnny Cash, and here I'm trying to listen to the Beatles, and they weren't real crazy about that kind of. I think when the Beatles put out Yesterday, my dad was like, that's a really good song, and up until then, he hated them.
Resistive, of course.
But I like I said, I started off as a rock and roll guitar player, and I didn't even sing back then. Eventually I kind of fell into that role as our singer left, and somebody needed to do it, and next thing I knew, I was the lead guitarist and lead singer, and so it kind of evolved it over time. But I even forgot what the original question was.
Yeah.
Where was I going?
I was asking you about like how your style has changed. Style for writing.
One of my biggest problems with my style is I have none. And I think that's hurt me over the years. A lot of people, their stuff does tend to sound the same, but that's their style, and because I didn't want to be pigeonholed in any one style, I would write acoustic, I would write rock, I would write country, but then my style became, what is my style, And I think I did the same thing when I was an athlete, and I used to play baseball, and I was a pretty good baseball player, but I could play any position. So, I was pretty good at every position, but I never got great at any one position, and, what does that do for you? It's not like that guy's a really great catcher, or he's a really great pitcher. It's like, well, he's a good utility kind of guy, and I got that same kind of thing with music. So I'm opening for Leon Redbone over here, and Donnie Iris over here, and then Crystal Gale over here, and so, and when I would play each type of show, we would do originals in that style. But I even had one of the Frozen Sound, a guy named Kim Mundy that still has a studio, and he also does a lot of work on musical instruments and stuff, and plus he's in 3 or 4 different bands around here. I used his studio for a lot of my early stuff. The guy that owned Follies back then wrote a campaign song for somebody that was running for governor, and they just wanted somebody to sing it. So Kim suggested to get Kenny to come over. And so here I just saw it, looked at it for the first time, and I just went in and sang it. It reminded me a little bit of Puff the Magic Dragon, really. It was kind of strange. So I just sang it in this real straightforward voice, and Kim said, is that really your voice? And I said, I guess. And he said, because I've always wondered what your voice really sounds like, because every time you come in here, you sound different. And so, I'll do a country song, and there will be a twang in my voice. I'll do a rock song, and there'll be a growl in my voice. And it's just something that my voice does. It's not conscious.
You were saying you're starting to record your own music again. What kind of timeline are you looking at for releasing music?
I was hoping they'd be out by now, but COVID-19 kind of put a big damper on everything. I'd say probably, I'm hoping early next year.
Okay.
To get them out. But yeah, a lot of the recording's already done. It's just deciding what I want to put on which CD, and actually there's a few songs that could cross over, that it could actually be either like a rocking country song or a country kind of rock song, So, but there's it's mainly now. I just need to fine tune some of them. A few of the ones that I've written more recently, I haven't actually sat down and recorded at all yet. But so there's a few of those that I want to go in and I don't know how much. Some songs don't really need a whole lot more than acoustic guitar. And there's a couple of the newer ones I've written that kind of sound pretty nice as they are. But I'd like to get a nice version of them, and then kind of sit back and listen to it and see if I can envision maybe a piano or something or strings or but for the most part the recording's pretty much done. I just need to arrange them how I want them, and right now I've got a CD I threw together that has a dozen songs on it that I'm listening to over and over, so I can see if the flow is good, because picking an order for songs on a CD is kind of a chore. You don't necessarily want to. I've actually been Googling that to see, because I know there's a formula there. And it used to be different whenever they were albums, because you had two sides, so you kind of had two groups of songs that now everything just kind of flows on a CD, and heck, half the time people don't even have to hear the whole CD anymore. They're just going to download a song here and a song there. So like I said, I don't know if it's as important as it used to be, but a lot of the CDs that I sell will probably be at gigs, so that's really the only way that I'll have them. So that might force people that still have a CD player, I guess, to actually listen, to the songs, because I don't really have songs that I consider album cuts or throwaways. Everything that I write, I want to be good enough to be the feature song. You know what I mean? And
so are you playing? Oh, sorry, didn't
go ahead.
interrupt.
No,
are you
fine.
playing drums and bass on those too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I said, though, I think my best arrangements of songs came when I had other people helping me.
Yeah.
But it really, that's one thing, doing cover too. Another thing that I did in my solo act, and I started doing this, believe it or not, in 1987, is the technology was there at that time. We in Steal the Dark, we had our bass player Mike Hutzel left the band in 1987, and we were together another 5 years after that, and we're thinking, well, how are we going to replace Mike? You know, it wasn't just his bass playing; his voice is amazing too. And we knew we were not going to be able to get a person that going to be able to do what Mike did for us. So we thought, you know, why even try to replace him? We have the technology to just be able to duplicate those bass parts, and so that's what we did. We went ahead and sequenced the bass lines, and we were using 2 Commodore 64 computers paired together.
Yeah.
And you know, running a timing track and a bass line. And so what we ended up doing is sending one line to a set of headphones where the drummer was the only one that could hear the timing track.
Yeah.
So he would get 2 measures of timing track, and so he would hear the first one, then he would click off the second one, and we would all start playing. And he had to keep with that timing track. He had to be perfect.
Yeah.
And that's why I said Pat was amazing, because I mean, there's not very many people that can play with a timing track and just keep it seamless all the time. And so the one thing that did to us was it wasn't just like the old days where, okay, Kenny's playing a lead here, and then I just kind of nod to him when I'm done. You know, every lead had to be exactly the same amount of measures now I didn't have to necessarily play the same thing, but I had to know where I was starting and where I was finishing.
When you were coming back.
So, but that started me I was doing a solo act at the same time. I thought, well, you know, I was just playing acoustic, and I thought, well, first I started just adding some background percussion tracks, you know, that fattened things up a bit, and then I started putting bass in there too, and then I thought, well, geez, you know, I've got all these keyboards, and so I started putting some piano and some strings, and the next thing you know, I sounded like a band by myself, you know, and but what that helped me to do was get better at playing other instruments, plus working up cover tunes let me see how music was constructed. So, you know, when I first got access to a keyboard that had the string sound, I loved that sound. So I was putting it in everything, you know. I'll go back and listen to those tapes now, and it's like, oh my God, that's overbearing.
Yeah.
But as I got used to using that stuff, I noticed my arrangements started getting better, and I started getting some cool string lines, and I learned that less is more. A lot of times music is as much about the spaces you leave in it as it is about filling those spaces. Yeah. You know, you don't want there to be, when the vocals are going on, you want some cool little fill stuff in there, but you don't want anything taking your attention off the lyrics or the vocals. Mm-hmm. But, you know, there's an artful way to do that, you know, and it took me years to realize that I don't have to play every note I know how to play in every lead, you know. I don't have to sound like Eddie Van Halen every time I play a lead, you know. You can do as much with one note sometimes. But and a good example of that is going back and listening to old Duane Allman leads, and you know, that man could hold out a note and bend it a certain way, and you would feel more in that one note than if somebody was like, you know, just ripping, you know, shredding as they call it these days, you know. Yeah. But it taught me that the average listener doesn't care how many notes you get in a particular area and how fast you are. Now, you know, they just want to enjoy the music, and they can't tell a moderate guitar player from an amazing guitar player, you know. Yeah. There are definitely exceptions to that rule, but yeah, it really less is more when it comes to music, and my whole writing technique changed with sequencing, because I was able to actually go in there and try things and do things. Well, that works, that doesn't work, and over the years, you know, I've come up with some pretty good stuff where I played everything on it. But like I said, when I hear stuff that when Pat was playing drums and when Billy Marsh was playing guitar, and it's nice to get other people's input in music too, you know, and
sure.
You know, it's not so one dimensional.
Do you want to wait until you can play it live?
It's just right now because I'm not playing live. I don't have as much money coming in to actually be able to afford to put anything going out right now. You know, I'm just maintaining as so many of us are during this COVID thing. But yeah, my income has dropped drastically by not being able to be out playing.
I'm sure.
And so, you know, I have mixed feelings about it because I miss playing. By the same token, you know, I'd feel really bad if somebody came to my show and ended up getting sick or, you know, I was even toying with the idea of putting a plexiglass thing in front of me to, you know, just like a barrier between me and the audience. But I still worry about the people sitting out there.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm going to keep them there a little bit longer, well, they have a chance of getting infected. I would feel really bad if somebody, you know. So I've been like turning down shows. Actually, I just turned one down before I came in here tonight.
Oh wow.
I don't even think they're supposed to be having, as far as I know, the governor said no live music, and some of these people are just doing it anyway.
Yeah, they're just like, we don't care. You have been doing a few Facebook Live shows, though, right?
Yeah, I've done 7 of them, I think.
Are you going to do more of those?
Yeah, I had taken a break from doing it. You know, I was getting like 2,500 viewers the first few times I did it, and you know, it just started dwindling. It was, the novelty wore off for people, I think, and
yeah.
So I decided to give it a break for a while, and so I waited about 3 months until I just did one this past week, and it had about 1,600 views, which wasn't bad. But I'm going to try to do it like every 2 weeks. I was doing it every week in the beginning, and like I said, each one kind of dropped off a little bit. And I've looked at some of the other artists that are doing it, and their numbers did the same thing. You know, they were higher in the beginning, and then they would start falling off. So, but what I did notice is by not playing for 3 months, I found myself not really rehearsing much. So when I went to do this last show, my voice was like raspy. You know, my playing was a little sloppy, and I'm like, you know, I'm going to have to do this at least once every 2 weeks
Gotta
just
tighten
for
it up
practice.
a little bit.
Yeah. Just for practice, if nothing else. It's weird though, to get that energy when you're sitting in my case, my little tiny basement studio, which is about the size of this room.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm used to the energy going back and forth between me and an audience. And when you know, granted, you can see people as they're commenting, but it's just not the same thing as being in front of a group, you know.
Yeah.
I've noticed my voice is a lot better when I'm playing live than it is in the studio. And I don't know why, but I guess it's just adrenaline or something.
Yeah, getting in the pocket, feeling like the atmosphere and stuff.
I always had a hard time getting that emotion in my voice when I played in the studio that I got when I played live. And you know, I guess you learn that over the years, but
yeah.
But it's always more fun for me to play in front of people than obviously than not.
Go to KennyZara.com to check out his music and be on the lookout for new releases. Check him out at Kenny Zara on YouTube, and then check him out at Kenny Zara Music on Facebook. I'm Sam. This is Kenny. Y'all take it easy.